do a moment of silence as well. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You just remain standing and please give some thoughts to our former mayor, Dave Hines, who recently passed away. Thank you very much. Welcome all to our Monday, August 21st meeting, and thank you for the moment of silence for past Mayor Dave Hines. The village did in honor of Dave, put all our flags at Mass, and just a couple of words so people know the dedication of this particular individual as a civil servant. He was in the Navy. He was part of the VFW. He was a police officer and obviously a trustee and a mayor in this village, and has, spent a lot of years and time and energy doing public service. Something that, being on the board with him, he has really shown and tried to lead and do all the right things for the village, because that's how much he really cared about where he lived, and for also all the people that are, part of our great community. So he was a trustee in 2006, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, and he was mayor from 2015 to 2016. So there's a great example of, people like us, like you, people on different boards who really do step up at the end of the day to be part of the community and put something forth that's positive. So thank you for this time, and again, Dave, rest in peace. Thank you. So at this point, we have two new ZBA members that need to be sworn in, and Patricia. So I'll ask Christine to come up, and if you please come up to the dais and get sworn in, that'd be great.
No.
You're standing on one foot, please.
You are not to ever listen to this.
Raise your right hand, please, and repeat after me. I, Patricia Cooney,
I, Patricia Cooney,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the constitutions
that I will support the constitutions
of the United States
of the United States
and the state of New York,
and the state of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of
Zoning Board of Appeals member
Zoning Board of Appeals member
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Wait a minute
It's a 10-year contract.
Just in case.
You sure? C-O-O.
Don't be nervous.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, congrats, yeah.
Come on over. Relax. Ready? Okay, raise your right hand, please, and repeat after me. I, Patricia N. McBain,
I, Patricia M. McBain,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the constitutions
that I will support the constitutions
of the United States
of the United States
and the state of New York,
and the state of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of
Zoning Board of Appeals member
Zoning Board of Appeals
to the
member
best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
If I memorized it.
Congratulations. May I add that we have now completed our ZBA zoning board is complete. Yay. All of the boards are complete except for, we are still looking for one member on the architectural review board. So if you know anybody that's interested, it's not the way it sounds. You need zero architectural background. It's really to maintain the aesthetics of our village. It's curb appeal, colors, what we want, what we don't want. So anyone that has an eye for aesthetics, or you know anybody that does, please have them send in a letter to Christine, letter of interest. We're also still looking for a historian.
Well, ladies, thank you very much. We really do appreciate you, again, stepping up and, being part of our committee and taking care and looking forward in the future to have our village kind of be what we want it to be at the end of the day. So, thank you. Great. Our next item would just be open public comment from anyone who would like to bring anything to the floor. Any subject.
Hey, Tom, the flooding on Watson, when we get these big rains,
Yes.
like in her yard, and my other neighbor's yard, and Pat and Ann Spear's yard, what are we doing about all the flooding?
Well, we recently came by, I don't know if your house has any drainage in it.
I get water in the basement, but I don't have any drainage through it. I'm right on the corner of Watson and North.
Okay.
Can you please state your name for the
Andrew
record?
Gross,
And your address, right, Andrew?
16 North Street,
16, right?
yeah.
Okay.
So what we've done for the drainage that's on the property, on North Street and Kathleen's property, they recently filled out a form that's going to allow us to enter the property and allow us to investigate what is holding up the water and preventing it from flowing. So we will be addressing that shortly. We just have a number of projects that are in motion.
Yeah.
And we are working on, and actually we've probably taken care of, I want to say 3 or 4 real bad drainage issues, kind of try to prioritize them a little bit. But all of them are being addressed. So, if you could just hold on, it'll be this year, we'll get to it. We're finishing up a couple of things right now, and then we're preparing for the 9/11 ceremonies and doing some work at our parks to make sure that they're in great shape. But we've got you on the list, and we'll keep you in the loop.
Okay.
If you could, maybe at some point before you leave some info with Chris, and we'll take your name, number, email address, and we'll include you in when we're coming out, et cetera.
Okay. Yeah, I just see it going across Watson when you get a lot of rain, that's all.
Yeah, no, we were out there, Chris Martino, our superintendent,
I've seen him out there before.
DPW, so, yeah, we're on it, we've got it on our list. Anything else? Yes?
I had a question about the historian position. Is there more you can tell us about what that is, what that involves, or what it would involve, what it entails to?
Our prior historian was Linda Standish. She was a great historian, sadly she passed.
Yes.
I understand that her husband still has a lot of the documents. What does it entail actually? I mean, a lot of digging.
Of the town, of what's going on in.
We're right now, we're in a moratorium and we're working on a comprehensive plan. And part of that plan is we're going to designate specific areas that will be actually designated historical, not just us calling it historical. For us to go through the motions of actually declaring it as historical, which give us certain benefits. So right now, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we only have 2 locations in our village that are actually designated, declared, registered as historical. One is the Moffett Library, and the other is Brotherhood Winery.
Yeah, I would agree with that, yeah.
There are way more landmarks than that. We have cemeteries, we have homes.
Yes.
So that's the type of thing, looking into certain aspects of moving forward with that type of a thing. We have a young man in our audience who's lived here for I don't know how many decades, who has a ton of history.
You also have, where the Indian settlement used to be.
Yeah.
The state has a monument there, and Mr. Felter had given a great talk at the library about that. don't know if anybody's got the records with that, with that talk with, but it was very good.
Yeah, there's a lot of information, actually. There's, the woman who lives next door is cleaning out her attic. She had recently, she lived there and still living there, you know, since she was a kid. So she's been finding lots of news articles, artifacts, just old stuff. And she's been dropping them off. Some of the stuff is related to Blooming Grove. And so they've been bringing that material down to them. The library is supposed to also have a number of our historical items and so forth. And it's really just going back and knowing what Maysfield was before it was Maysfield, and Gordonsfield was what it was, and the beer store, what that was years ago. And, you know, it's stuff that, you know, you see every day, but you really don't know the real history behind a lot of it. So that's what the historian really tries to do, is find some old pictures versus the new pictures. And
And we lost a lot of pictures with the flooding that the other.
I would assume so,
We
yeah.
lost one.
Right.
Our house was, where we actually lived was the schoolhouse in Washingtonville
Right,
many years ago, and we can't find any other information
right.
because we lost a bunch, so we're just digging it out and finding out what we can about the
Yeah,
town.
there's a lot of history on North Street, South Street, North Goshen, obviously our downtown, and a number of the homes along here, some of them were built in the 1700s.
Yep.
So, yeah, there's a lot of rich history. So, it's kind of in a ballpark of what they do.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One more thing.
Okay, there.
Arrow Point Lane, it's named that, the reason that's named Arrow Point, Bruce Felter and Les Howard used to pick up all the arrowheads when they plowed that.
Oh, really?
That was full of arrowheads, that's how that got its name.
Wow.
But,
You sounded like an historian to me over there.
I begged him.
He's talking.
He's been trying.
You're hired.
If you close your eyes, we'll swear you in right now.
We would love to have you, but even if you could not obligate to that, commit to that, you know, just your information would be really helpful.
Yeah.
You have a lot of information.
Yeah, there's the police station is something where the property or the money was donated from the Monell family in the Newburgh area. And they, you know, are still doing it in a larger capacity, but they're, you know, I guess I want to say they're pretty wealthy, and they're able to do that. So, yeah, the firehouse down, which is now the police station, was the original firehouse, and they either bought the property and or the property and or the building, something to that effect. But that's the kind of history stuff that we really need. You know, it's really neat stuff. And maybe one last thing for the Monell Firehouse, a lot of people don't know, but when the firehouse was being built and plans were being drawn, it was the firemen who a bunch of them took out second mortgages on their homes to raise the money to build the firehouse. So,
History.
you know, it's those kind of neat little things that happen that just, you know, when you talk about community service, you can't, it's high on the pole. You know? Yeah, so, thank you. Anything else, any other questions? All right. So to start, we'll be on our discussion session. This is basically just some updates on things that have been going on over the last couple of weeks and potentially months. So one thing that we've been working on, just a special note, we got some notification, and Chris, we need to do a CTY message probably tomorrow. Tolman Road at the tunnel is gonna be closed until August 25th. Not really sure what's going on project-wise, but we received that notification today. So put that on your list if you don't mind, Chris.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, they have the notification on the street, unfortunately, it's at the tunnel.
It's what?
It's at the tunnel.
That's why we want to be able to get it out, you know? It's kind of crazy, when you get there, now you gotta back up, so. Yeah. Yeah, we're also working with our local, within Orange County and New Windsor and the town of Blooming Grove to get some signs along the way so that when tractor trailers
Especially.
get misguided, that then they run into the tunnel, and there's really just some very old signs that are up there. So trying to get a flashing light or something that can get the guys to, unfortunately, turn around in Washingtonville, because once you get above Taft School, there's no easy turnaround access for a tractor trailer. So, yeah, we're trying to work on that as well, just waiting for people to get back from vacations and so forth. So the first item that we have is regarding a generator update. We have a temporary generator, I'll say temporary, it's been there since 2018 during the construction of the sewer plant. The thing that we've been reporting on over the last several months is that when we found out when we got into office in April is that we were paying about $5,500 a month for the rental of this thing since 2018. There were lots of particular reasons why it's from the former board, why it wasn't changed. But long story short, we, within the last month, we were able to go out, make sure that this generator that was there, that we had installed a bunch of years before, was large enough and could handle the power of our new plant that's been upgraded. So we found that we could do that. We went out to bid. We have all the bids. We had the electrical contractor. So this past Monday, we were out there at 7 o'clock in the morning. They took our old generator, moved it to a new pad, and it's in the process of being wired right now. And Chris, do you have any updates from Finnegan? Okay. They had pulled all the wires, and I know they were about to be testing it, hopefully by the end of this week. And hopefully, then we can take that rental and return that to its rightful owner, United Rental, get it out of here, because we're not paying any more money on that thing. So, good news there. So we'll have, basically, we'll pay off that, the work that's being done within 4 months, and we're done. So it'll all be good for the future. And of course, it'll be tested, et cetera, before we remove the old one. Any comments or questions on the board side? Anybody out there? If free feel to ask away. We have a well number 3 that is scheduled to have rehab in the middle sometime of September. We don't like rehabbing wells in the summertime due to the potentially low water levels, and we don't want to take a well out of service. So we're waiting for the September, October timeframe, but right now we're scheduled for middle-ish of September. And basically what they do is they pull the well out, and it's a maintenance of cleaning all the screenings, making sure the pumps are operational, the bearings and things are in place, and that it's ready for service for the next few years before it needs to be rehabbed again. Next is our financial update. So again, over the last several months, we've been talking about our deficit financing, that we need to go out and borrow approximately $3 million. For you that might not have heard this, but prior to us getting into office, the previous administration had wrote about $1.6 million in checks to various different contractors. And in doing so, they took those checks out of our budget, right, that's here today. So basically took almost a quarter of our budget and spent it on invoices that were 2022, 2021, some 2020. And since that time, we've kind of tracking and being about 6 months in, we have continually paid past invoices from 22, 21, and 20, where the previous administration did not pay their bills. They had not done any audits. They had not done what they call as an AUD, which is a report that goes to New York State. So by not doing that, Moody's, like your credit rating at your house, they removed our credit rating. So we weren't able to really borrow any money for new purchases, for really anything. I went to the bank to get a credit card, couldn't even get that done because I couldn't supply any financial audit reports. So what we ended up having to do is we had to reach out to our assembly and our senator, they brought bills to the floor up in Albany to allow us to borrow deficit financing, which, right, so we're in the hole. Now we're gonna borrow this money to do only one thing, pay bills and continue businesses as normal as we can. And so with that being said, all of that got approved. Our bond people, our attorneys and guys that do this for a living like a bank, they go out and look for money. We contacted 4 banks. We put out kind of a feeler, and they must have some kind of a website that everybody can see who needs to borrow money. We had 4 companies respond. 3 companies denied our request because they felt we were a financial risk. We have found 1 company who has stepped up and is moving forward, thank God, because without this borrowing, we would be in really, really bad shape. So as we're moving forward, we're very, very happy that that's happening. And we have a meeting tomorrow morning. We meet every Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock for updates. And so we should get a timeline of when we're gonna receive this money. Potentially, we're hoping it's gonna be the middle of September, because we would be in some really dire shape come October, November. So it's right on the cusp. Yes?
Just a question, how do you get yourself into a good credit rating? Does that happen?
Pay your bills.
Oh, I understand that, but I mean, after all of this, does your credit rating go up a little bit after you pay?
Well, once we have our audits done, so the audits weren't done for 20, 21, 22, 23. 19 wasn't completed either, it just recently got done. So without having your audits, you're basically, you shot yourself in the head.
Right,
I mean,
right.
you don't have any ability to borrow money. The worst scenario that I could give you is that the previous administration went as far as going out and trying to buy and gave a PO for a new dump truck that I can't even give them the financial data to give us the credit to borrow the money to pay for the truck. So I have no idea what they were thinking when they gave this company a PO and said, yeah, go build me a truck. And now we're sitting here saying, you know they're gonna ask for audit information, you know they're gonna ask for your bank account when you're borrowing a car, they wanna know what your credit worthiness is all about. We can't produce that. So this truck is sitting someplace in limbo, and I've got a financial guy call me the other day saying, you know, what are we gonna be doing? And I said, I have no idea, because it's gonna take at least several months to do 1 year's of auditing. We're gonna have 3, potentially working on 4. It's really very difficult. One of the other things that the previous administration did is that they stopped using the computer system. They didn't use the financial system, they didn't use the AP system, they went totally paper. And they used QuickBooks to create checks. So there's no paper trail on anything. And if you're a financial person, you'd be shaking your head like it's gonna fall off your shoulders. It's beyond comprehension.
The budget was done in QuickBooks.
Yeah, the budget was done in QuickBooks. The budget you can't even trust. That was the other thing the guy wanted to see, was the budget. Seeing what our expenses are versus budget. The budget was so upside down that you couldn't even explain from year to year the swing in the dollar amounts. So 1 year, $600,000 for insurance. Next year, this year coming, was lowered to say $500,000. There is no way, and everybody that's out there who has a job and in the industry or just anything in general, nothing ever goes down, especially $100,000. Insurance goes up anywhere between 10 to maybe 15% a year.
Borrowing from one fund.
Yeah, the borrowing from one fund to another fund was so erratic, so out of control that we can't even, we're not even using the budget. We're gonna start our budget process next month. We're gonna be meeting as a board to work on our revenue numbers and, you know, drill down to the actuals, because we potentially only have real numbers for the last 6 months of bills that we've paid. And now our treasurer that we have is breaking it out between 23, 22, 21, and 20. Because we're in essence paying 3 years' worth of bills every time we paid something. So it was just a rat chasing his tail, just craziness.
So my question, I have a question about you borrow this money, you get approved for it, that is paying off the previous debt. What about moving forward? How do we get that
That's a good
revenue
question.
to come back?
So what we have to do, so we're gonna borrow $3 million.
Yes.
Needs to be paid back over 10 years.
Oh, okay.
So in the economy we're in, and again, these other companies that we were looking for, but right now we're looking at an interest rate of 7%. Okay? So based on 3 million, the loan per year will be $427,200. Now, if I take that and we're charging it based upon a unit, which is a home, and then commercial, et cetera. So it's gonna be in the neighborhood of $225 to maybe $150 a year that the homeowner's taxes or a fee will be applied that you'll have to pay back this. Now, this will again be for 10 years. So to your question is, what do we do moving forward? When we come up to our budget year, that's where we're gonna start next month. Our budget isn't due until February and March, but we're starting now, so we make sure we can try to capture everything that's out there. Because we've been getting calls, I got a truck company called me and said, we need your payment for $25,000. And I'm like, well, what was that for? This is for your 2021 truck that you guys had bought, whatever, last year. So it's 5 payments, basically $25K. And that's like out of the blue. So you can just imagine when you're trying to get caught up, how much more money you're actually spending than you actually have budgeted. So it's a major challenge.
Yes.
But to your question, it's raising taxes. Because they did not raise taxes in 6 years because they thought it was gonna be, a bad thing to do. That is the worst thing that you could do, because all you're doing is piling on the interest of what it should have been now in one spot. So 6 years, even we're trying to be conservative, 3%, that's an 18% increase that you could expect. It could even be more, and based upon some of the borrowing and some of the things that we've seen, we expect it to be higher. And, again, with our transparency, we'll be using the board and trying to do this, and we're working on a letter to send out to every resident so they know exactly what we're dealing with, and we're all in this together, because we all live here. We are as angry as 99% of everybody out there, and it was a dishonor to everybody that lives in this village, it really was. Very, very radical, very sad.
What's bad also is the board itself was not even signing off on the bills. The previous mayor just paid what he felt like paying. And that's another reason we're in the mess we're in.
Our bills come in as vouchers, we all sign them.
If we don't sign them, they don't get
That's the case
paid.
with the prior administration.
And that's the way it was supposed to be done,
It
and
should
it
have
was
been
not.
done. Well, you have the more eyes on it, the better, right?
Yes.
So mayor signs it, and at least any trustees will
Yeah.
sign it, but that was not happening.
Was that
Especially in the 10 days prior to us taking office,
Wow.
there was one person signing off on.
They paid an insurance bill, I believe it was $648,000. Now, insurance that we pay is somewhere in the neighborhood of $85,000 a month. So just calculate that out of how many months we did not have health insurance, or we didn't pay the health insurance. How they did not cancel us is beyond me. I have no idea. But when we saw that 1.6 million written, my first phone calls were to my assembly and my senate. Because we did nothing, we beat nothing.
The comptroller's office is in now, it's gonna be a minimum of 6 months. This isn't gonna, we're not gonna get answers overnight, but.
Yeah, they're doing a risk analysis right now, which could lead into a forensic audit.
Is this why we're in the moratorium?
Okay,
Is this why this, I get it now?
Well, I mean,
Well,
that's not the reason we're in the
what?
moratorium.
yeah,
It
two different issues,
Right,
Okay.
two different issues.
Okay, gotcha,
Budgetary versus planning and zoning, two different animals.
okay.
But, you know, we felt it was important, that, you know, we're trying to run this every day like any other business, right? So, you know, we're trying to be progressive, we're trying to find money, we are cutting things here and there where we can. But it's not an easy task when a lot of this stuff was bought and you're making payments on this stuff when you're going, you know, you're $400,000 over budget for the last potentially 3 or 4 years that we've been able to ascertain without an actual audit. But these are the numbers as our financial people are seeing. So, yeah, overinflated revenues and underinflated expenses, so we're not even using the budget. It'll be a zero start. Yeah. So, on the pickleball courts, a brighter subject.
Yes, please. Yes. Smile about something.
I like that segue. Very good.
Nice, no.
Yeah, I mean,
That's heavy duty stuff.
so the good news about pickleball, let me start with Rieger Homes High Grove dedication, because that will explain the pickleball court.
Okay.
So in the dedication process, a lot of the roads have not been dedicated, green areas, as-built drawings. So that large development just needs to come to a close. So we were pushing like crazy over the last probably 60 days to get this thing to a close, because our main objective was to get everything done. The board approved everything, and then we went to the school system to say, now we're dedicated, you can take your buses now and start driving on the roads. So when I called them the other day, they said, well, we're not gonna be doing anything like that at this point because we already have our bus routes. So the bus routes are gonna be the same as they were last year. Parents are gonna have to drive their kids down to Woodfield or to the corner of, you know, Bull Road and High Grove, somewhere in that neighborhood. So that'll be kind of up to the neighbors to kind of go after the school and say, you know what, you know, this doesn't seem right at the end of the day. So we're pushing to get this in place. We were shooting for the first meeting in September, and due to the paperwork that the builder had to, you know, finalize and get to the attorneys and send stuff to the county and get everything dedicated, we might not make that window. But it doesn't really matter because, again, the buses are not gonna be able to drive their roads anyway because the routes are already in place. The one good thing we did find out, though, we did some digging, and we found out that we were able, some of the recreation fees were not paid. So that was a good thing, because the $18,000 that they received previous to us coming on board, we went to the recreation account, that's where the money is supposed to be dedicated to for recreation, parks, etc. There was no money in the account, it was zero. So we don't know where that $18,000 went, we don't know whatever happened to anything else. So the good news is between that and another kind of a road donation that they were given, we're gonna have $85,000. So that's gonna come to the village when all the paperwork is here, everything's ready to go, the attorneys say sign it, go, we're done. So that's good news. So that brings us to the pickleball, because now we have such a rave on pickleball that we have recreation money, which needs to be used in a dedicated fund for recreation. So we are in the process, with a lot of work from Steve. We've got some paving contractors already bid out. We just are tonight going to bid out for the fencing. The last piece we need to really work on is the surface and the nets. And other than that, we'll be good to go. And we're gonna put 3 courts on half of what used to be the roller hockey. So that'll be over at Vern Allen Park. So we'll have 3 courts to start, and then as the interest grows and we can potentially get some more money for recreation, then we'll build other courts next to it. So potentially we'll have 6 courts, pickleball courts, with the fencing, soup to nuts, we'll have that all down tight. So And if everything would be to work out, we'd love to have that, you know, kind of in place end of September, beginning of October, depending on deliveries and supplies, all that good stuff.
Many of us don't know what pickleball courts are.
All right, well, I
I know it's
Google it.
very new. I know it's very, very new. I've been
It's
hearing
a
about it.
combination of tennis, racquetball,
I'm just saying.
ping pong.
Okay.
No pickles?
Oh,
No
no,
pickles
no
allowed.
pickles are involved, okay. No pickles.
Unless they're
I've been hearing about it lately. This is so new.
So that's where we are with that. So tonight, again, we're gonna
That's old people.
at least get through the fence quotes and that'll be it. For our parks, just a quick update at the Memorial Park. Again, we're doing improvements over there. Chris and his crew, they installed a new walkway from the parking lot to the playground, which was, you know, it'll be ADA compliant. We've also put some new drainage in there because the water used to collect in pond just off of the parking lot. So they took care of drainage over there, which is, it really looks nice. We'll be seeding and taking care of that, so by the time we get to 9/11, we should have some nice grass growing. They're also trimming the 2 berms that, from the path that go from the parking lot to the 9/11 monument. That has been trimmed down and they're remulching and making that really look kind of in a better condition. So thank you, Chris, for your efforts on that. Also, we have new playground equipment coming in addition to what's already there. That's a donation from the Lions Club. When that gets here, we'll be working on that. What else? And then we also have a paving project for, there's an area with instruments. And the Lions Club went out and got donations that I think bought that equipment, and now they went out for the pavers and people paid for the pavers with their names on them, so that area will be nicely paved out and it'll run into the sidewalk that they just installed. So anybody who would like to, you know, if they're wheelchair bound or whatever, will be able to manage all of that. Okay, any comments on it, guys? Yeah, we go to Woodfield. So for Woodfield, again, part of the pickleball process, we also have a crew of people, kids that are still interested in the skateboarding over at Woodfield. We've got some cracks and things going on with that, and it's been there for a number of years. So along with this money, we're going to pave that, and we'll end up paving the Vern Allen Park at the same time. We're going to remove the equipment that's there temporarily and keep it off, and then we'll put it on when it's all said and done. And then we have a gentleman who is proposing all new types of equipment and skateboard stuff, and we're waiting to hear back from him on his proposals. So we potentially go out and borrow the money for that through grants. Any questions on any of that?
On that skate park, would it be easier or cheaper to do concrete than blacktop over time?
I don't know.
It's gonna hurt either way if you fall on
I
it.
just don't. Yeah, and, you know, the only thing I can think about with concrete, right, it's gonna, unless somehow they're able to keep it really smooth, I think it would damage the wheels on the skateboards, just to get the
They
initial
do
flood.
floors in factories, giant slabs. It's not like
Yeah,
it's not
no, I'm
impossible.
right, and they polish them too, so I don't know if that would be something to potentially think about, but,
If there's a polish on it, there would be no traction for the skateboarding, so it'd be more like this.
yeah.
And it's good to
Good
get
question.
bumps and
You know,
some
I
touches
actually
up a
looked into
little
that a little bit, and I
Okay.
was under the assumption that more down in the warmer states is where they use the concrete more than the asphalt.
Gotcha.
In the north, just like that with driveways, you see out west and down south, they're all concrete driveways.
Yeah.
There are no cracks, anything like built-in pools.
The water
Yeah,
isn't
they
over
use
there.
the metal pools, the liners down south. they use all
Concrete is better.
Yeah.
The cold,
And the water
not
isn't over there.
the concrete frame.
Yep.
Make some inquiries on that. Good thought. Okay. Any other questions on any of that? If not, the other improvement that our DPW crew is working on is down at E.J. McLaughlin Square. If you've been down there lately, there was an area that was all like pebbles and stones, all that stuff, and a lot of the businesses were kind of complaining about people tripping and the stones were all over the sidewalk. So we ended up, again, we're using the money actually from our U.S. coach bus agreement that we have. We're gonna be using that money to pay for the work that was done at that location. So we had a contractor come in, they removed everything to the depths of what needed to be, patted everything down, and they put in stamped concrete. And that was completed, on Tuesday? Wednesday. So it was all done by Wednesday. It looked really great. People think it is pavers, but it's actually stamped. So it really looks a lot better. We put drainage in there, so no water will collect either on the sidewalk. And the way everything is sloped and pitched, I went by there the other morning after we had that early morning rain, and there was no puddles or anything on it. So it looks really good. And we're probably gonna have a couple more picnic tables built. Our guys are doing that in-house for anybody having lunch or anything outside. Okay. So for the board, we have another grant opportunity from, I asked Millennium to take a look at it, and for the dollar amount, we haven't really, I think we were about 100 to 150,000 in the borrowing, or for the grant. So it's either for, we have the abilities for public improvement projects, which again is streetscapes, improvement, transportation, signage, upgrades of Parks Plaza, things along those lines. So specifically, I was thinking of looking at this project and this money for potentially Sewell Park, and see what we could, get out of that. So it is a fee. So the way this company works, they're called Millennium, and they are a grant writing company. So what we do, they have a website portal that we can go on and look for any kind of grants that are out there, private, public, government, whatever. And once we tell them what we're kind of looking for, they have a group of people that actually just go out and start looking for grant money for the projects that we're interested in. In this case, what they do is they charge $150 an hour when it comes to the point of them writing the grant. Because we just don't have sometimes the techniques or the ability to really understand how to go after it. So they write it and they do it efficiently, very quickly. We already have a grant in, and this would be in addition to everything else, again, trying to get equipment and construction pieces, I'll say at the moment, for Sewell Park, which is across the street from the middle school. Okay? What we're trying to do at the middle school is going to be pretty much open. Flower garden, walkways with a large concrete paver type setup, almost like a gazebo, but we want to stay away from the wood because that's in a floodplain area. So once we, supposed to get a drawing within a couple of weeks, and we can figure out how much things will be costing, and then we can budget the numbers for this and see what we can get back from these guys. Comments? Well, the bandstand, excuse me, the throat's killing me. We talked about a bandstand being a larger gazebo, but again, because that area is in a floodplain, we need to get permission from FEMA. So I wrote them a letter allowing, I say we want to build a park. They go, what do you want to do with the park? So we're going to have flowers, walkway, benches, and then we were talking about a gazebo. But one of my friends was over in Goshen and saw they have this kind of like a raised paver kind of patio. It's 2 steps, 3 steps up, and they had bands out there playing. And I think getting away from the wood because potentially could flood away, could get damaged in a flood. But stone, pavers, that type of a concrete slab, again, elevated, it looks really nice if you're ever in Goshen near that church that's in the middle of the triangle area. Looks really neat. So we're gonna propose to do something like that versus the gazebo.
You all know how some of our local municipalities have their summer concert series. Goshen has, Chester, Cornwall, probably more have them now than don't. We're trying to bring something like that back into the village.
Nice.
And it would be a good attraction, low-key stuff. I mean, it's not obviously a super large area, and we wanna be courteous to the neighbors, so we don't wanna be potentially rock and rolling until 10 or 11. But, you know, you could have quartets, you know,
Right.
nice music, and, sorry?
Would there be parking there and stuff like that?
You're gonna use the parking lot at the village, where the old village hall used to
I
be.
see.
Part of the proposal is that we'll put a sidewalk from the village parking lot to Sewell Park,
Okay.
so it'll be safe for people to walk, and then go right into the park area.
You know, it's good for businesses too,
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, downtown people use it.
Walkability, music, the small businesses are there.
That other area, like we got the Halloween thing, it's just so cluttered there, so crowded there. So on the other side, it's a nicer,
right.
place for everyone to gather and cars and all that.
I have one question about the Millennium Strategies, the
Mhm.
people that you're getting the grants from. You pay them upon getting the grant, or you pay?
No, we pay them upon their grant writing and the submission of the grant.
Oh,
And then they follow the grant through the process.
I see.
And before they submit, we review it with them, to make sure we're all on the same page, and then they submit, and then we get an invoice.
Okay. Thank you.
Grant writing is an
Yeah.
art.
And it's normally, and they also tap it out at a certain level. So most of the grants that we've dealt with so far, again, it's $150 an hour. And then they cap it at, say, $4,500. If it takes them longer, then it's not their dime, not ours.
Got it.
And so that's the max we would spend. So that'll give us the ability to budget from like September, October, when we want to use these guys to figure out how much money we need to put aside.
Got it.
It's a small expense, I know it is an expense, but we can't afford not to do it. We
Well,
can't
it's
afford to
hard.
let grants come and go and not, you know, get the
Yeah.
benefit from them.
There's millions and millions of dollars that come out in every different angle. We have 2 wells that we want to investigate that are in the High Grove area.
Mhm.
So to get the grant money, we need to start the engineering to get through this whole process. So we'll be using them to get grant money for the potential building of the wells and whatever is necessary to get those wells attached to our water system.
And proposals are important, and how it's
Yeah.
written is very important. It's worthwhile.
Any comments on it, guys? Besides that? Okay. All right. So there were no other questions on the grant? Not for me? Okay. All right, so the next portion is just basically a couple of resolutions that we need to do. One is a resolution to authorize the approval to increase the village court special prosecutor salary from $350 to $400 effective 10/1/23. I have a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Donna, Steve on the second. Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0, 1 absent. Okay. Next is a resolution to approve Millennium Strategies to work on the submittal for New York Forward grant applications at a cost not to exceed $4,500, effective 10/1/23. You have a motion, please? Donna, Steve?
Second.
Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0, 1 absent. Next is a resolution to authorize the budget transfers amendments as necessary to effect necessary transfers of funds to pay such warrants. Motion?
Motion.
Second. Excuse me. Dawn, all in favor?
Aye.
Who made the second? Steve?
I'm sorry?
Vernon and Steve. Fence.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Excuse me. Part of the other resolution that we talked about earlier for the pickleball fence is a resolution to authorize American Fence Company to provide materials, install a chain link fence for the village pickleball courts at a cost not to exceed $19,230.
Motion.
Second? Questions, comments? The only comment I'll make is that we had received actually four quotes, and this is the lowest responsible bidder
By a lot.
by, several thousand. The other quotes came in over $25,000.
And this is all coming out of the 85K that we
Yep.
get with the.
Exactly, and we're not gonna, we're gonna hold on until we get the money and we cash the check.
Of course.
So,
Well, that's a good way to go.
Can't spend what you don't have,
Exactly.
Unless you wanna cut it out.
unless you wanna give me a check.
As I thought.
Okay, I'm sorry, I skipped that particular resolution, so now we're at the abstract to authorize budget transfers and amendments.
You did it. You did it.
You guys voted? Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Just went around, you just go back.
Oh, okay, sorry about that, okay, cool. So now we're at the public comment section, if anyone has anything.
I just have one comment, but I'm not sure how deep it is. Chain link fence, the safety of the chain link fence, anyone looking to that?
Are you talking for the pickleball?
Pickleball.
They're all.
So it is coded,
Okay,
it's coded,
that's what
yeah.
Yeah, it's vinyl coated,
It's
it's
vinyl
made
coated.
high enough so nobody can land on the top of it.
No barbed wire at the
Thank
top.
you.
No bother.
Just do my job.
The big lights that come on at night, I don't want to see you out there, Pat.
I don't even know what
So know where you live.
I know, we're looking into it.
Just in case you all wonder about the people that are not here, how interested they are in what's going on. Your last meeting that I put up online a couple of days ago, just under 1,800.
I'm sorry, Edie, which meeting? The last village board meeting,
Yep.
or was it the
About
ARB?
refurbishing the downtown area.
1,700.
Yep.
Wow.
Responded or viewed?
Viewed, read,
Viewed,
average
read.
reading time is like 9 minutes.
For your face.
I think that was the
Wow,
call
that's
one.
Wow.
How many likes? No.
Oh.
That wasn't an segue. That's
Nice,
great.
that's very good.
Sounds very
That's
good.
very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's
We
great,
want
thank you,
to-
Edie. That's good info. Keep it coming. Dave?
Yeah, when the taxes go up, they'll definitely be coming to the meeting.
Oh,
They'll be coming
yes,
to the budget
oh,
hearings,
yes.
I'm sure.
I was gonna go here.
No, and we will put out TTY messages for those.
Yeah, I mean, our meetings, work sessions, whatever you wanna call them, they'll be open, so, again, we're in this together, so whoever has suggestions, you know what, all hands on deck,
Yeah, there's gonna be some red-hearted, heated people, so
Yeah.
they'll fill up the room.
so, and we've done that before. But again, in a proactive, calm, productive way, not, listen, we can all be unhappy and we tell everybody, pick up the phone, give us a call, and, we'll investigate, look at, find, get back to you with any particular issue, so, we want that transparency and conversation. We're all on the same side.
The best thing about sitting here today, it shows that you're for us, that apparently the other people weren't for us. It's nice to hear we're doing this as a unit, as a village, we're all on the same team.
Yeah.
We're looking for the best interest, so that's super important, super important.
It's the only reason we're here.
Yes?
Tom, did you know all this before you ran?
No.
all of it.
No.
Just curious.
We have an idea.
Wow, he's telling you
This
lies.
man, this is his fifth rodeo as mayor.
We know.
When we decided to run, we knew at that point, it was right around the budget hearing.
Yeah.
We had already been very involved, three of us especially. We had an idea, but this man, after 4 times, this being his fifth, still couldn't fathom what we stepped into.
When you said
I mean, it was just,
I mean, the other
every
question
day
is, would he have went the other way had he known, but,
Well, we're not going
No, I think that's not what you know now, but, no, I think you would have.
I'm a crazy guy, I'd say I dive in
I was
with both
careful
feet.
with my wording.
I in project management mode just about my whole life, so
Gotcha.
there's no challenge that I ever ran away from, or in some cases could run away from. So,
Gotcha.
you know, there's always a way to figure out, but again, to the size of the financial issues, I've never in my life seen anything like it, nor has anyone else I've spoken to. And I've spoken to the state, we've talked to the controllers, we've talked to auditors, we've rung every tree, and these guys go, I don't even know how you guys did what you did. Because, and that's not really to pat us on the back, trust me, because we're here every day struggling to, keep the boat afloat and, again, taking everything into consideration, so. But, we're doing it every day, and it runs down through the board to Christine and the office staff here, and Chris, and our other Chris for the sewer plant, and, yeah, it's, in the police department, it's everybody. And, we have a responsibility to try to protect that and also protect you guys.
And I can't speak for the whole village, but I certainly go way back knowing you, and happy to, when you're here, I was happy to be a part of, or to be a part of anything you need to do. You got that spirit, and we know
Thanks.
it's going in the right direction.
Great.
Glad to have you here.
As a team, we'll all get it done.
Absolutely.
Super. Anything else from the audience?
Yeah, since you just offered,
Uh-oh.
I did go to the comprehensive plan meeting. I just put a story up a couple hours ago. They need help.
What is it, the comprehensive
Comprehensive
board?
plan board. There were
She
3
just
people.
joined the ZBA.
We just
Oh.
joined zoning.
We just swore her in today for the ZBA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, people need to come to that.
I mean,
I'm already writing it down. What do you need? What else you need?
If you know anybody that might be interested in participating in that, they made some really important discussions, learned how to do the GIS mapping online, and it's a shame that there were 3 people on the
well,
committee.
that was very disturbing.
Yeah,
That's not typical, all right? We have 8 people on that committee, and 3 actually, were on vacation or away.
yes, probably end of
2,
summer
we didn't know
vacations.
what happened, but normally there should be 8 people sitting there, plus the 2 planners. I'm always there. But you are welcome. We do have board members that are also on that committee, and we do have an opening if there's anybody interested. I mean, I don't want to say it's too late. What I would suggest is if anybody is interested and wants to join now, we're 3 meetings in. They're all recorded and on YouTube. Bonnie is phenomenal. You can be brought up to date just by watching those videos. We have 2 people sitting in the audience right now that are on that committee. And it's an incredible committee. I mean, you are literally shaping the future for this village. Those decisions are being made at that table. Hopefully through.
Suggestions, because we're gonna open, it goes
Well, I
up into
mean,
the village to, and input
It comes
for
back
it.
to our board at the end, but, it's the comprehensive committee that's designing, rezoning,
Rewriting
rewriting the
code.
language in codes, not just rezoning, but the language needs to be cleaned up, so we're not in, precarious situations. What's your vision? What do you wanna see? What don't you like? What do you like? And what would you like to see in the near future?
Well, as we're drawing this bond, as we're growing, as we're learning each other, here, I trust that you'll lead me in the direction where you feel I'm best fit in this, so let's start here today.
Oh, I can still see you on that committee.
And certainly,
If you're interested,
let's work
let me know.
towards,
Yeah.
talk to me more, let's talk.
It's a once a month.
Speak.
That's it, they meet once a month, but it's a very intense, they dive in and do their work.
Well, excuse me, let me just ask my crew, because I have a whole crew of people here. What do you guys think? No.
They said go for it.
Oh, no.
Just for the board members, so you know, like we've been saying, we are in a moratorium. There should not be a lot of projects, really much of any proposals coming before these boards right now. So this is the time that, the chairpersons are setting up their trainings for those boards. so you can start to educate yourself, become familiar with what your responsibilities and duties are as a board member. But there is no reason you couldn't do, we have actually we have four board members that are also on the comprehensive committee. So if you're wanting to do that, let me know.
We'll talk now.
Okay.
We'll talk now. And we'll talk.
Leave me alone.
That's it, you want your one.
Christine, open that book up.
It's being recorded, gotcha.
Oh.
All meetings are recorded, okay.
That's great. Anyone else have anything? Otherwise,
Water meters, Tom.
oh yeah, my favorite subject.
I've been battling this since the beginning of the last one. My water bill is ridiculous every month, and I know I don't go through that much water.
Okay, so what we've been doing is we've been taking complaints like that, and we're going back to the billing. We can set up an appointment to come to your house and verify the meters. We check the outside meter, the inside meter. Can't tell you how many meters we've replaced. With our company that is going out to do the meter readings, we've pressed them very, very hard. Because what was going on in the past is that software system was a train wreck. Because there were a lot of things in that system that were just wrong. And they were like not even paying attention. So you could sit here and tell me, you know, I've been complaining for 2 years. And you know what, I believe it, because when we go back and look at the data, you know, it's an estimated bill, it's an estimated bill, it's an estimated bill, and I'm like, why is there so many estimated bills?
Exactly.
So I went to the manager,
Over $500 a month.
yeah, and, yeah,
Ours just went up.
This
50.
one is because it wasn't estimated.
say,
Ours
and
went up
that's,
50.
so what we're doing,
A quarter
a quarter of $500?
Yeah, however they bill it.
Okay, quarter.
Just to clarify.
So what we'll do, we analyze it, we'll go back and we look at it and we make adjustments where we can. Because we either your meter is set up to read gallons, but in the system it was set up to read liters. So right there, you could potentially have a big problem. Your estimations, when the estimated bills, I don't remember the exact percentage, so correct me here, but they do an estimated bill, it was showing up on your bill as you were potentially using 3,000 or 4,000 to 6,000 gallons of water. An estimated bill for 3 months. So when you then potentially got a red bill, right? Now all of a sudden you get the accurate bill, and then what it does, it goes back to the previous billing period, and then retros that delta. So now you're not only getting billed for that, you're being billed for what was behind it. And they combine that all into one. So what we ended up doing, we talked to the software guys, we set the threshold for estimated bills to say 90%. So if it is an estimated bill for whatever reason, it's gonna be darn close to what your regular usage is. But what we need to do is, we'll send out the guys, and we'll set up an appointment, and we'll look at the meter, and look at the outside meter, and see how they jive together. And if the meter's not responding, we replace it.
Yeah, how far away do they have to be to read those things?
How far they need to be? They need to be
Yeah.
close to the exterior module. They have a machine, you know, like a
No, I know, like, because like, I work for Warner and Rockland, so all our meters, they can just drive down the road and it picks up every one.
Right,
But I
yeah,
didn't know if the technology is there, or mine's on the side of the house near the back.
yeah.
So if we change it, I'd like to know if we can move that meter to the front.
Yeah, they can,
They do
I
have
mean, as long as
dogs,
they're
but-
access, all they do is they're gonna tap into the existing wire and run it to the front of the house. They did that at my house
Yeah.
a couple of years ago, because I put up a fence and I have my animals in the back. And so rather than they were estimating me, I'm like, you know, what, you know, oh, you got dogs. I'm like, okay, I got dogs. So come to my house and take the thing from here and move it over here on my front porch, and boom, problem solved.
Yes.
But that's the type of stuff that we need. And we need, you know, we need a lot of cooperation to get into the houses to check the inside meters. Sometimes I know it's a real pain, but, you know, in order for us to try to get to your problem, we need to get in.
Yeah, 100%.
And we just, you know, there's a lot of times people just, hate to say blow us off, but at the end of the day, we're gonna be persistent. We're even talking about changing our law to add a fine, so if you don't let us in, there's a penalty. Because that's how much we need to get in here and fix it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
A lot of meters are old, and the problem with old meters, they run slower. You put a new meter in, it's gonna be digital, the latest and greatest, so it's gonna be more accurate. So potentially your bill could, be higher, but it's gonna be accurate at the end of the day.
What about the idea of setting up an appointment schedule?
We do that.
Oh,
I mean, we reach out to the homeowner and we say, you tell us what's good for you.
well, the homeowner would have to be aware that they have a water problem. A lot of people may not be, they just pay their bill. Do you understand what I'm
That's
saying?
potential, right? I mean, who know better than the homeowner? If I'm paying $200 every quarter, then all of a sudden it's $800, then I know something went crazy over the last 3 months. So somebody would call, and then we just, again, try to make an appointment to get in there and check the meters. And we have, Susan is on vacation at the moment, but she's become our water and billing person, knows that system probably better than some of the people who've been here over the last 5 or 10 years. But she's making adjustments within the system, and every quarter, we're still getting complaints and stuff, but the number is going down.
Okay.
So we're addressing them, we're making the corrections, and, people are, I say super happy because everybody gets a bill, but at least it's accurate to what your usage is, and that's the goal.
and it was definitely changed once we got the vendor in there to do the reading and stuff.
Yeah, and he does, and our guy, Justin, does a great job. I mean, he's quick, he can figure it out in a heartbeat, and then
That was all done?
give us an idea of what's up, and then he sends us an email and we close the ticket. So we're opening tickets, and every time someone calls after they get a bill and they say there's something wrong, we open a ticket in the system, Justin goes out and investigates, and then he changes it. And I think we probably changed it, we just put another order in for like 50 meters. So we've changed over 50 meters in this last 4 months, 5 months.
And we got a letter, what do you call it, we had to sign for it, a certified letter
Yeah.
saying that they wanted to come and change out. I didn't think anything was a problem with our meter,
Yeah.
right? But previously, I wanna say maybe 2 years ago, it just went up $50. It just,
Right.
our water bill went from here to there, so I was
Well,
thinking it had to do with the
yeah,
pandemic
about
and
2
all that
years ago,
stuff.
they did raise the water rates.
Right, but everything else has been
Yeah,
calm until now. They just did it a month or so ago, so we're
Right.
gonna see.
yeah,
keep
see
my
where it
eye on
lands,
it now.
yep,
Okay.
yeah. And while we're talking about water and facilities charges, we're talking about a little bit on the sewer side of things.
Okay.
When they raised the rates a year or so ago,
Mhm.
we are basically finding out that the money they put in to raise your facilities fee,
Mhm.
they raised that to $37.57.
Oh, no, mine went 50.
50?
$50.
For your facilities charge?
It went from $76 to $126.
No, that's your
Oh,
bill.
no, that's
No,
okay.
it's
Okay.
on the bill, there's gonna be a little line on it, it says,
Oh,
FAC, I think, fee, facilities charge.
facility charge.
Yeah, and it's $37.57, so they raised it to that amount, because that amount that increase was supposed to pay for the ban of the sewer work that was done in whatever, 17, 18, 19, it was
Gotcha.
done in 20. Well, that amount of money that they raised it isn't enough to pay for the ban. We're about $170,000 short.
Mm.
So with that pain, I hate to say that we're gonna have to raise your facilities charge rate to approximately $45 a quarter
Mm.
to cover the ban. So we can pay, potentially, it's like $411,000 for the next few years, and then it starts to drop down as you're paying. And it runs till, I think, 2050.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Wow, these can be some sad news.
So we need to, so I just gave you kind of a warning shot that your facilities fee is gonna go up. I just need to find out if we need to do a public hearing and change the local law, or if it's something we can do by resolution.
Mhm.
Even if we do it by resolution, well, that means we can do it faster, but we'll still have a public information meeting for it. We'll put it out there to let people know that we're gonna be raising that fee. You know, and then when we get into the budget, we'll be able to understand what's going on with our water department and the sewer, because we're not supposed to make money on these things, we're supposed to pay the bills. So that's all we wanna do, and if we're running short, unfortunately, we'll have to potentially look at sewer rates and water rates and everything else. Because I'm not sure if they were afraid of raising it to really what it needed to be. So, I mean, you're just kidding yourself at the end of the day. Because where were you gonna find $170,000 in your sewer budget when you're not collecting the money that you should be using? You take it from water,
Right.
that money's supposed to be paid back to the water fund within 30 days, generally speaking. And if you took it out of your general fund, it's even worse, right? Because that general fund is basically Village Hall, Police Department, DPW, and that's a large chunk.
And all these new systems they're putting in, because they just put in a new system, that comes from somewhere. That money has to come from somewhere as well.
When you say system,
They just put in a new water meeting, a new, the
The water
certified
meter,
letter
right.
was saying, we have to come in and put this new, so that money had to be
yeah,
generated from
that
somewhere
money
as well.
is coming from the funds we collect on a quarterly basis, and it goes into the account and spread evenly to pay the bills.
And hopefully to
And
help.
hopefully,
not
right,
to hurt.
because when we go into it this year, we'll probably need to put a budget number in for, say, 100 meters, because we're constantly trying to catch up and replace and fix things. You know, they're somewhere about $150 a pop. So, you know, it's a vicious cycle. Yeah.
I have a question for you before we leave.
Anything
No,
else,
this
anybody?
is something separate. Yeah, just something later, it just popped in my mind. So,
Off the record.
off the record.
Any other questions, guys? If not, do we need executive session?
So we did.
He's not here. Okay, actually, we do have one personnel. Yep.
Any feedback back on the fiber internet?
On the fiber internet, we're waiting for, what are they called? Not Light Tower anymore, they're called Crown Castle. We're waiting for them to finish the installation at the police department. And then from there, they're gonna, I think they're looking at the DPW department and the sewer department, and then they're gonna come here and upgrade us to fiber, and then we'll be able to get rid of the Spectrum lines.
What about the rest of the village as far as installation?
Oh, you're talking about just
Yes,
that in general?
right.
No one has stepped up, and anybody can come in, they just, I think they're very territorial. So Verizon could be here tomorrow with a presentation to say, we want to run fiber through the village.
I think the opportunity when they renew their licensing within either the village or the town, that's when the time is supposed to move.
Yeah, but
What
the last time I
in
did it,
3 months,
it was structured that anyone can come in at any time.
right.
I wasn't just signing for, at the time, say, Time Warner Cable, and yeah, it's all yours for 10 years, Time Warner. No, it was anybody who wants to come in. But if you look at the lines that they draw, you don't see anybody in New Windsor other than Verizon. You go down to Monroe, you don't see anybody in there but Cablevision.
Frontier.
So, you know, they kind of, in my mind, they protect their own interests.
Absolutely.
So, why, you know, we ask, it's open for them to come in and install, get new customers, put some competitive to it, you know?
I mean, the Verizon central office is right there outside of Stewart. You know, wouldn't be difficult, but
No.
somebody's gotta knock on their door.
Infrastructure costs are those costs that they pay every day.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, I mean, they stop in the winter. Same telephone poles, keep coming.
Well, they're not gonna, Verizon owns, I think, 40% of Frontier. And, you know, Frontier is, pardon the French, is pooping the bed, financially all the time. But they found it within their wherewithal to pretty much wire up, Monroe and KJ, and they never wanna come north to.
Right. Right. Yeah, I hear you. Rick? Anything else? If not, then I need a motion to go into executive session. And there'll be no, when we come out, there'll be no voting, no decisions made, this is just a conversation on personnel. So with that, I'd like to thank everybody very much, on behalf of the board, for coming down to see me.